Hey everybody, it's Jack with Future Pastimes, and it's time for the Cosmic Encounter Alien of the Month for December 2024. It's our last Alien of the Month for the year. And this is an alien with a long and storied history, but it hasn't actually had an alien sheet until Cosmic Odyssey, the 7th expansion for Cosmic Encounter. And that alien is Zilch. Now, Zilch is a very peculiar alien. Back in the days of Eon, it was an alien that was designed to be able to add a 7th player to the game, or an 8th player if you were also using Shark, but that's a separate discussion. So the idea with Zilch was that you would, at the start of the game, you would write down the name of a player that you thought would win, and then you'd spend the whole game watching the game, but you were able to look at stuff. You could look at somebody's hands, you could look at a card that they were playing, you could look at whatever you wanted, moons, look through the deck, and then you could tell people anything you wanted, including lies. And the idea was that you were trying to covertly help the player that you picked to win the game, because if they do win the game, then you win with them. And if they win with other people as part of a shared win, then you actually, as Zilch, win alone. So the other players are trying to figure out who it is that you have picked and then trying to prevent them from winning as well. And I always enjoyed it. I played Zilch many, many times, and I wanted to see Zilch added to the Fantasy Flight Edition, but I knew that just making it an alien that didn't really have any components was not really Fantasy Flight's style. So I put my thinking cap on, and this was the result. So let's take a look at what Zilch does in the Fantasy Flight Edition and how it has been realized and made into a full-fledged alien. And I'll talk a little bit more about why I love Zilch. So, has some game setup text here. So this is an alien that's not going to show up mid-game. Secretly choose a Destiny card that matches a player color and does not have a hazard warning. Place it face down on the sheet. That player is ordained. So the idea here is that there's no pencil and paper nonsense, which in modern board gaming is not really much of a thing, and certainly Fantasy Flight is like, if there's a way to have a token or a card, we're going to do that. So, and it makes sense. It's also a clue. So when a particular color is not showing up very much in the Destiny deck, players will begin to suspect. You know, if you see 3 blue Destiny cards have come up, you know it's not blue. So that's that sort of thing. So it's a nice little bit of information there. And this part about the player is ordained is one of the things that Frank Brooks introduced to Odyssey, and it's this idea of aliens that have sort of a meta thing going on, or some other element to the game has a moniker that you can refer to. And so I thought it was a good touch. So the idea is you have the power of Zilch. Once per encounter, you may use this power to play a fate from your essence card cache. If the ordained player wins the game alone, you win the game with them, and if the ordained player will be part of a shared win that does not include you, you win by yourself instead, and you may still win via the normal method. So, as you may have figured out, this is an essence alien. So that was one of the ways that I felt like Zilch could be realized, especially anytime you have these aliens that have a lot of latitude in their effects. It sometimes is overwhelming for players. So an alien like Negator, it was a very troublesome alien for a long time, but I think by making it an essence alien, it has given players who play it a lot of focus and a little more agency, and it gets used, and it's a lot easier to follow. And I felt like Zilch would benefit from the same treatment. And so the idea is that you've got a number of different essence cards that let you do Zilch-like things from the previous editions. So there's one that lets you look at stuff. There's one that you can get somebody out of an encounter. In fact, it goes certainly far above and beyond what the old Zilch could do, because you can like zap somebody's alien power, or you can make something so that they can't be zapped. And so it's interesting, and you're cycling through, and the normal essence rules are you're going to have 3 of these essence cards, and you play one, and then you replenish. So you're once per counter, you're using these Zilch effects from your essence card cache to help out that player. And again, you can use these to help various players, and so keep people guessing so they don't know for sure who you've ordained to be the winner. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. I think it's you're playing a slightly different version of Cosmic Encounter alongside the one that everyone else is playing, because you have your own hidden agenda, and you're trying to see how well that you can employ the tools that the Zilch Essence cards give you so that you can make that come true. Now, this is some trivia about the art that I've shared before, but I'll go ahead and do it again. So this art, what is that? It's crazy looking. Well, that was originally the Cosmic Grail, which was going to be a thing in Cosmic Eons. And the idea was that it was a way to help resolve conflicts. If you had some kind of conflict that came up in the game and you just didn't know how to resolve it, somebody had the Cosmic Grail, and they would just make a ruling. And so the Grail ruling would say, yeah, here you go. This is how we're going to resolve this. And that's it for the rest of the game. You have to all abide by it, even if it's not based in logic. It could be completely outrageous. And then the idea was that they were going to introduce a bunch of aliens that would utterly break the game so that you had to use the Grail a lot. And Fantasy Flight was not crazy about the Grail idea, but they had already commissioned this art, and it was sitting around, and I knew about it. So I was like, well, how do you depict the Zilch? And I was like, well, just use this. Who knows what that is? It's like a castle made out of bubbles and anemone. So it's a kooky alien. The original Zilch didn't have the power of Zilch and the power to kibitz. So the idea is that you're sitting there, you're observing, and you're giving your 2 cents constantly throughout. But they changed that. Fantasy Flight was like, let's just call it the power of Zilch, which is fine, no big deal there. I've played the Fantasy Flight Zilch a couple of times now, and I love it. I think it's a great time. I know I'm completely biased because I did the implementation of this version of it, but I've always really loved Zilch. It's a lot of fun to play. And technically, you could just do the old classic Zilch. If you are in, say, an 8-player game and you have a 9th player, you can say, yeah, why don't you just Zilch the game? You don't need to use the alien sheet. You can just use the old rules that are on the internet. It's pretty simple. You write down the name of the player you think is going to win, and you keep that secret. And then you just look at stuff. You look at stuff and you tell people stuff. You be like, oh, yeah, you should ally with him. He's got a high reinforcement. Or that guy, the highest card in his hand is a 10. So I think if you send 3 more ships, you should be able to beat him. Like, oh, he had a 12. Oh, whoops. I guess I was wrong. I didn't see that card. Or whatever. You can play it however you want. Like one of the first times I was, the person that I picked was my friend John. And I thought everybody would suspect that I picked John, so I just bullied John for the first several encounters, and they're like, well, I didn't pick him. And then I tried to be as covert as I could in trying to get John to catch up, and then I was full on board with I'm helping John. And even John didn't believe it was true at that point. He thought for sure that I was pulling my double whammy late in the game rather than early in the game. But John did end up being part of a shared win, which meant that I won alone. So it all worked out quite well for me as the Zilch. The first time I did it, actually, I think that's the second time, because the first time was at a birthday party, and then something happened and we didn't finish the game. So, but yeah, I was having a blast while that was going on. So if you have played with the new Zilch, let me know in the comments what you think of Zilch. If you've seen it in action, let me know your thoughts there. If you've played the original Zilch, also chime in. Love to hear your stories about how it was zilching, kibitzing, as it were, or being zilched by somebody else in the game. I've never actually played the game with Zilch where I wasn't zilch, so I do need to experience that at some point. So looking forward to that, perhaps next year, and we'll see what happens. That's it for that one. Thanks for watching. Alien of the Month for the year. We'll do a summary and a recap of everything at the end of the year. as well as a ranking of the 12 aliens for 2024. And we'll see where Zilch comes out. Probably pretty high, but we'll see. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again soon.